parking requirements dictate how almost every building you can imagine, looks and operates and just stuff like that.
It's one of those things I never would have considered
familiar?
at all, but now it's like it makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
You familiar with that subreddit cars? It's just
I am familiar.
I thought you might be. They're like the opposite of you. It's just
no.
everything...
I do like to draw a line between car enthusiasm and car dependency. Like I love cars, industry. The exciting cars, but I think that we as a country, as a state, the state I live in, as a city, Los Angeles, subsidize heavily car people at the expense of non-car people. And I think that needs to stop. And I think that we need to have, not everybody wants to be in their fucking car all the time. And, there's people who can't afford cars or don't like cars, don't want cars. And we could do a lot by having a solid public transit system so that not everybody had to be in their car all the time. And we could develop infrastructure that didn't revolve around cars, that has been done very successfully in other places. And so I like those fuck cars subreddit and the all of those people. I engage with them. And I think a lot of what they're saying is right. And I encourage them to not demonize car enthusiasts as opposed to, because a lot of
that's
us
what they're doing
feel that way too.
I just see, sometimes I see a meme and it's like the utopia that would exist if we all just got on a bicycle, and it's like, come on, man. Come on. I don't know about that. And having seen how gun legislation can be when you give them an inch and them taking a mile, it's I don't like the idea of giving anybody an inch on automotive stuff either. We need to saw those catalytic converters off too. Just run.
Well,
run
look,
there's
there's certain places that are very, very dense. Right, that are very dense, Lower Manhattan, Venice Beach, where I spent a lot of time. The specifically the waterfront in Chicago on the river. There's places where if you made a few blocks here, I'm not talking about the city of Chicago, right? But I'm talking about a few blocks here and there. You made them car-free zones or heavily car-restricted zones. I think you could drastically improve the quality of life in those areas, paired with other changes, more green spaces, more walkable type businesses. And these places, by the way, a lot of them are the most valuable real estate in the world. Lower Manhattan, London, downtown Paris, these are Venice Beach, Santa Monica. These are really, really expensive areas. And I think that a lot of people would prefer they were a little greener. You'd put parking on the outskirts. You wouldn't force people to sell their cars, but I think that in select pockets, we could have areas that would be improved by, you have to park 2 blocks further away and walk in.
Maybe.
I'm not
depends on the city too.
Outright banning of cars, and there's certainly places in America where they're not going to build public transportation to get from Kansas to Montana. Car. There's suburbs. You need a car. Okay, no one's saying take that away, but in the most dense parts of our cities, you don't necessarily need to drive. The expectation that you should be able to drive directly door to door and find cheap or free parking right in front of your destination at any hour of the day is pretty unrealistic. And yet that's the expectation that we've become accustomed to.
That is,
I haven't really heard the solution though, right? People say, oh, I don't want cars around here. Let's just block it off. No cars. Are you going to walk? Is that what your plan is? Do you want me to walk in New York City in a business suit in July? Because I don't want you to walk across the whole city. I want you to choke on a dick and die.
Yes.
New York City has an excellent public transit system. People take the subway all the fucking time.
Have you been in New York City when it's raining? It's awful.
Yeah, I have. Well, okay. It has a poorly maintained but very well designed public transit.
I can't even
That's a different story.
Taxi. I can't find the train. It's a fucking problem. What's that called?
Well, that
Good intentions.
He said it's got a poorly maintained but well-designed system, and it's like that counts for nothing. Imagine if you said that about your nuclear reactor.
Well, what if we actually allocated those funds that could come from the money that we're subsidizing drivers in New York City
I'm
right
like,
now?
fuck, everyone hop on those electric scooters and bicycles or something as the last mile. Maybe
Those are great. Those are great too.
I like them, but I haven't lost all my athleticism yet, just some of it. And but there are people who have. So what is my answer for them?
Scooters.
I mean, a little bit of that too. A little bit of those scooters too. A little bit of golf cart type vehicles for urban areas.
Uber drivers.
Dude, public transit, cool. like using my city as an example, St. Louis, it is unusable. It is the most dangerous place to be. Like,
cut your finger off or use public transit in St. Louis for the next 10 years.
Taylor, you need to step up and straighten out
this finger, left hand pinky. You cut it off like John Wick.
I'd probably left hand pinky because I'll definitely be killed if I
cut my finger off too.
I want Taylor in an electric golf cart just saying, bring it, motherfucker. See, this place was dangerous until I got here. You know who's in danger now? You. They
have this train from like this area in like Brentwood or Kirkwood all the way down to the city. And I had never been on it. And it's like a well understood joke that like you don't ride the public transit in St. Louis because it's a dangerous city. Like people hang out on public transit just to wait for it to get not crowded so they can rob you. And when the Blues won the Stanley Cup, that was the most crowded place of like Blues fans. It's because like everyone was like, we're all here. So we're safe. And so like it was so packed that everyone's like, this is kind of nice. Like, but that's the only time.
And then he realized he had no wallet when he got home.
Yeah, and then you realize you have no wallet, and then you arrive there, and you're like, "Oh, you know, this isn't as convenient as driving. This is worse. This is worse than driving."
MARTA's great in Atlanta if you're going somewhere where it stops off nearby. When we were going to watch the hockey game,
what did you say was great? MARTA.
MARTA's an acronym.
That's That's the
down here they say it stands for Moving Africans Rapidly Through Atlanta.
Jesus Christ.
That is, I'm sure, the intention of the
is that not what it stands for?
I don't think that's what it actually stands for.
Metro Atlanta Rapid Transit Authority. Actually,
yeah, but I've been on it. It's the first thing. I promise. It can be scary on there at night, but like you said, there was something. It felt way safer after a sports game. Everybody's got their jerseys and hats on. It's like, okay, A team's here. Where's the B team? And then you'd find them and like, all right, they're over there. They look a little scared, honestly. There's a lot of us. We're good. We're good. I've had that exact same experience. I wouldn't go on MARTA if it wasn't for something like that. Scary. I don't have a gun.
I mean, on this fuck cars subreddit, frankly, like so much of this is like, what if we took this beautiful, pristine park and put up Soviet-style block communist buildings for living? And it's like, well, we'd ruin the park. But then people could walk from depressing gray building to depressing gray building. Like,
I mean,
like, no, that's like,
there's people that want to bulldoze every green space and put apartments on them, and you know that's kind of dumb too. But I mean, there are non-communist ways to. The bottom line is like incentives and disincentives both work, right? Like right now, our country incentivizes buying a bigger, heavier vehicle than you actually need. There's a way that if you own a small business and you buy a vehicle that has over 6,000 pound gross vehicle weight, you can depreciate the entire value of that vehicle in the first year. And yes, sometimes that's used for construction equipment, and sometimes that's used for a semi-truck for someone to earn a living. But also sometimes it's used for G-Wagons and Rolls Royces and Raptors and people who commute to work in fucking Super Duties and all kinds of ways. And I'm not saying that if you want to buy a farm tractor that you shouldn't be able to depreciate that as a business expense. But, you know, we could change the incentives to incentivize people to buy the lightest, most fuel efficient vehicle for the task, as opposed to something that is specifically heavier than a certain amount. There, the electric Hummer, you can depreciate that. It weighs fucking 9,000 pounds. I mean, think about the amount of extra wear and tear you're putting on roads and bridges and tarmac and everything by driving something like that around. And someone's going, yeah, it's electric. I'm not burning fucking gas. Like, shut the fuck up. Like, you are wasting everything by driving that. And we have chosen to incentivize that as opposed to incentivizing the use of smaller, lighter vehicles where possible.